Welcome to the South Fulton Good Things Show. I am District 7 Commissioner William Bill Edwards. On today's show, we're taking a look at the plan and the possibilities for revitalizing one of the major corridors in unincorporated Fulton County. We're talking about Old National Highway. This popular stretch, also known as Georgia Highway 279, has seen better days. Old National Highway was once one of the booming centers of commerce in South Fulton, with big box stores and upscale restaurants and retailers. In early March, residents packed the New Life Presbyterian Church to tell me and other county leaders that they want to see these good things return. Many of the 100 residents expressed their own vision for the highway. Listen.
My vision for this area is to just see more green space, to be able, as a young working professional, to be able to come home and to be able to exercise in my neighborhood, to have viable eating options, healthier eating options for this area, to be able to have major retailers and restaurants return back to this area so that I feel good about spending my earned dollars in the area in which I live.
One of the things that I look at, even as a small start, is coming up with a strategy to maintain the integrity of the community, especially by keeping the businesses clean and policed. We can start with that.
My vision for Old National is to make sure and ensure that seniors as well as children can Old National and not be afraid.
So what can we do together with the community? And what have we, the county, already started to do to turn Old National Highway once again into a good thing? We'll talk about it when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. Today we are focusing on the steps and the strategies ahead to transform Old National Highway back to its glory days. Joining me today are Fulton County Police Captain Darryl Halbert, Fulton's the Health Services Director, Dr. Patrice Harris, and Fulton County's Lieutenant Fire Chief Martin Salamanca. Wow. Welcome to the show. Each of these departments has a role in revitalizing Old National Highway. People have been talking about some of the issues that we have on the corridor. They've been talking to you. What are some of the issues that you think are relevant today?
Well, I know recently they've been expressing a major concern about the crimes occurring at the businesses on Old National Highway. And what we as a police department have discovered is we've seen an influx of people coming in from other areas, and they've been committing crimes such as drugs and other kind of violent crimes, such as aggravated assaults and robberies.
Mm-hmm. Now, we just recently made a raid on a business called the Hood Mart. Tell us a little bit about that, and when did we start looking into the Hood Mart, and how did we get to where we are today?
Well, as you stated, it's the Hood Mart at 5990 Old National Highway, and they had a series of incident reports at that location involving thefts, drugs, robberies, and other crimes against persons. And because of our investigation into those incidents, we were able to obtain a search warrant. Now, once we had our raid and executed our search warrant, we yielded 3 arrests. We also seized drugs, guns, and more than 13,000 counterfeit DVDs and CDs.
Who were all part? What agencies took part in the raid?
Of course, the Fulton County Police Department, as well as the U.S. Marshals Department.
Mm-hmm. And for the sake of the people who are looking, sometimes people say, that's a crack house, or they're doing this in this particular. We can't just go in on somebody's word. Explain to us what you have to do once you hear that kind of information.
Again, what we normally look at based on the county ordinance, we have to see a pattern because people have to be allowed due process. And once the department establishes a pattern of a business doing or being involved in criminal activity, at that point, then we can try to obtain their or revoke their business license at that time.
And that's important. We've taken away a couple of business licenses on Old National Highway based on the fact the calls for service. But tell us about that. That can get tricky sometimes because people have to call the police department when something happens.
That's true. That's true. And we have to take a very thorough look at the particular calls for service and whether or not it's something associated with that particular business. Again, it being a business corridor, it could be something that occurred, in the street. This just happened to be in front of that particular location. So we have to take like I said, a very close look at those things.
And we have some residences that's actually on the corridor. We have Camelot, and we have another apartment complex there. How's that been in terms of the issues of public safety?
Well, what we're trying to do at this point in time, one of our main goals in terms of revitalizing is to continue to build our relationships with the community. For instance, in the very near future, we have our Citizen Police Academy. And that's an 11-week program where the citizens come in and they get to look at the inner workings of the police department and see some of the challenges we face in terms of trying to provide our services to them. And we also are able to glean information from these citizens to assist them in their issues and concerns.
One of the concerns we had in the town hall meetings, we always have it is, visibility. Matter of fact, one resident said we need to have a car parked in front of our gate. Tell us a little bit about that. We have about 140 police officers, acres and acres of land to police. Tell us a little bit about the issue of visibility.
Well, what we do, we ride one officer per car, and that allows us to be more visible in the community. And right now we're in the midst of hiring additional officers, so that will assist us even more with getting additional officers on the street for that visibility.
But they can help us as a community by doing their part.
Oh, correct. Now, we always advise the community to pick up the phone, to call us. That's what we're here for, and that will assist us greatly.
Another part of this revitalization effort is the health. Making sure that these stores are doing what they're supposed to do. They're getting good scores on when you come in and investigate them. Doc, tell us a little bit about that. What you're looking for. What is a good score? What is a bad score?
Well, as commissioners, on the health side, we are responsible for making sure that food service establishments, restaurants, or other establishments and tourist accommodations, these are hotels and motels, are operating according to the regulations that are passed by this county. And so regarding restaurant inspections, first of all, I want to thank you and the other members of the Board of Commissioners, because in late November, early December, you passed regulations that really put some additional teeth into some of these rules and regulations. So when our inspectors go in and inspect restaurants, they're looking at a variety of things. They're looking at basic retail practices, but they are really looking at behavior, staff behavior that they believe will lead to foodborne illnesses, because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to prevent, foodborne illnesses. And I tell you, so we are watching staff prepare food, chop food, our staff washing their hands. Are they making sure that the chicken is not stored on top of vegetables? So it's really those processes that are critical to ensure that restaurant patrons don't get sick. So those are the things that we look at when we go into restaurants.
Talk to me a little bit about the resolution that we passed that gives you more teeth, and about the process you're doing now to make sure that everybody knows, so that when we come out, there's no argument.
Yes, well, one of the things, Commissioners, you well know that we saw was what we call the yo-yo effect. A restaurant would get a U, an unsatisfactory grade, which is a grade below 70. We grade on a scale of 0 to 100. And then they would bring it up. And then the next time we go out, they would get a U. And then they would bring it up. And so really the regulations often require 2 consecutive U's. So we said, you know what, we need to pass a regulation so it's not that yo-yo effect, roller coaster effect. And so if you get 3 U's in the course of 5 inspections, then we have some teeth to the ability to ask, first of all, the restaurant to voluntarily close. But if they don't close, then we can take them to court, issue a citation, and take them to court. So we didn't have that before, and that's going to be real critical.
That is something new. Now, I guess you see, why is the fire department here? The fire department has a lot to do in terms of making sure that facilities are safe, that they're complying. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing, what you're supposed to do, and what you're doing now.
Yeah, what we're supposed to do is on the corridor, which is the Old National Highway, they have over 200 businesses. So our main objective is to make sure that each and every one of these businesses are inspected. We got to make sure we touch on every one of them. Another thing is we have a lot of restaurants and we have a lot of clubs on the Old National where we as a department, what we want to do is want to make sure the crowd control is there during the night times, and also emergency vehicle access are accessible.
Good. Now, the other thing, one of the things that we find a lot is in fact that if you have an occupancy in a club, for say, that we're complying with that occupancy. Yeah. And a lot of times there's a difference, as you know, between occupancy inside and occupancy outside. Tell us a little bit about how do you govern that? Yeah,
one of the things that we do is when we go in, I don't call them night inspections, I just call them crowd control. When I go in and I notice that if you go in on the entrance and you take really long to go to the other side of the club, guess what? That club might be overcrowded. So what we do is we look at the occupancy load card that should be on the front of the business. As soon as you go in, you should be able to see how many businesses, how many people are allowed in that business. And you go in and I look at the emergency lightings and the exits that they're supposed to be lit. So based on that, we let them know, hey, you either overcrowded or you need to let people out of here.
I'm just a retail business, say, on National Highway. What's the most important thing you're looking for from me as a retail business? I'm just a store.
Yeah, as a store, we got to make sure that your fire extinguishers or your fire protection services are up to date. Sometimes they got retail stores that have sprinkler systems but are not being monitored. In the United States of America, every sprinkler building is supposed to be monitored, and this is just the International Fire Code. And being monitored means that every business should have at least a fire alarm system and so forth. But anyhow, in regards to the retail stores, we also should have our fire extinguishers, which I already said, and we should make sure that everything is in accordance.
Okay, thank you so much. We've got more to cover on South Fulton Good Things. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're talking today about the plan and the possibilities for revitalization of Old National Highway. Captain Halbert, Dr. Harris, and Lieutenant Salamanca. Let's continue our conversation. You know, we've had this town hall meeting where we got to hear, some of you were there or had representatives there, to talk about what did the people want on Old National Highway. And everything they said was good. We wrote down each and everything, all right? And we've just started talking about some of the issues that we're having. Let's talk about what we're doing to offset some of those issues as it pertains to public safety.
Again, as I alluded to earlier, for us and our ability to create those relationships and have those partnerships with the community, because it was interesting, as you and I discussed earlier, the issue with the Hood Mart. It was so interesting, through no pre-planning of our own, the media happened to be there during that raid. And we provided that video footage.
Happened to be there.
And they happened to be there.
Okay.
And we provided that footage to the community, and that was very well received. So when they see those kind of things coming from the police department, it gives them a sense that, yes, okay, we are doing something, and we are doing something out there to help their lives, you know, to improve their lives.
Now, I was out there Saturday, and tell us about the efforts you're having on the weekend. You got the command vehicle, you know, you got SWAT out there, you got traffic, it's a lot of stuff going on. And what has been the result of all of that?
We've seen a major decrease in some of the activities, because what you're referring to is our directed patrols.
Right.
And when we see a spike in certain activities in certain areas, we will implement those directed patrols. We'll call out our Special Operations Division, our crime suppression teams, our Special Services section, and those units will target particular areas to address whatever issues there may be.
Mm-hmm. What I'm seeing, though, is we have to take note of this as a county. You've done your job at Hood Mart. Then comes the issue of taking their license. And that became an issue. But we're working through that. I think there was a miscommunication, a misunderstanding on some people on our staff as to what they could or could not do. So when we go into these, even in health, when we go into these places, we need to make sure that, we're just not tapping you on the hand. We mean, you're going to comply with what we're doing, or you're going to leave the corridor. And I think that that's what we're going to have. What about in health department? What are we doing a little different that'll help us to make and to revitalize this corridor.
Well, Commissioner, in addition to the new regulations, I think you made a good point about educating folks. It's important for the businesses to know what the requirements are, but I think it's very important, and I think this show can help with that, for our citizens to know what to expect. Where should the score be posted? Citizens should know that the restaurant score should be posted, and they should be able to see it as soon as they walk into the door, similar to the occupancy number. And they should not only be able to see the score, they should be able to read each area to see what points were deducted and why. We feel like, the health department feels like it's very important for citizens to be able to make an educated dining decision. And so that's what we're doing. But we also want to educate the businesses with these new rules and regulations. As you said earlier, we don't want, our businesses to feel like they didn't know the new rules and regulations. So our staff has been going out and working with them and educating them on these new rules and regulations.
And so once we do this educational program, I think it's a matter of no nonsense, no matter how small it is. If I'm to walk into that establishment and I got to see your inspections from health, and I got to see your business license, I got to see your fire stuff, it may seem to be a small thing for some people, but it's the law.
Yes.
And right now on Old National Highway, we're in the business of the law. And so we're going to make sure that we're doing, and what are we doing on the fire side, Lieutenant Salamanca?
Well, as you just said, and I reiterated earlier in regards to touching every business there. As soon as we walk in to every business, the first question we ask, can I see your business license? And just doing that, asking for the business license, we have recovered so much money for the county in regards to that. Another thing is that we've been doing with the clubs, we have a program called the Crowd Management Program, which every club has to give me at least 10 employees where they got to go through a fire safety class with me, and they will be certified as crowd managers. So when I go in there, I don't go in and ask for the manager, I ask for the crowd manager. And with him, I will be able to talk and ask him, okay, what do you got and what is it that we're doing here? And he will be responsible for what's going on. Another thing that I want to make sure that you know, that our fire stations, which is number 5 and number 7, which is on Buffington and Bethsaida Road, they are responsible for the Old National Highway. They do life safety inspections. If they become aware that there is a situation that is either imminent in regards to life safety, they will call my office, and I will definitely go there personally and make sure that they comply with the codes.
Well, you guys are going to be instrumental in helping us to get where we want to get, and that is the revitalization of the corridor to allow new, more prominent businesses to come in. The community is elated. I mean, the raid on Hood Mart, I mean, you could have gotten an Academy Award from the citizens around. And to see the vitality, to see what you're doing, Dr. Harris, in health, and what you're doing, Lieutenant Salamanca, in fire police, they just got a renewed sense of confidence, and they're willing to join hands with us. The meeting we had at New Life Presbyterian Church, I went in there thinking that everybody's going to be mad and we're going to be just wasting a lot of time, but we did not. We worked together, we talked about our issues, we responded to each other, and the good thing is that we got to come back in 90 days. So in 90 days, we would have shown what we have done. And then at the end of 90 days is not the end of the Old National revitalization, it continues. And we may come back in another 90 days because we have gotten new things, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything. So what I'm going to do is that of all the conversation that they've had, I will break it down based on categories: police, health, fire, and others, and ask each department to address it, to give a strategy, and let's not only just do it, but we're going to come back in 90 days and give the community a synopsis of what we've done. And I think that's what they want to see. Being transparent is the best thing that we can. So I would urge each of you, as we go along, to continue. We got to continue it. Police efforts have been great. A lot of people are coming in and complaining about restaurants, their appearance. And I'm glad you said they got to show that thing, because we don't want nobody taking a 7 and turning it into a 9.
Right.
I think I've seen that. I've seen that, Dr. Harris. You talked about what happens if you don't comply in health department. Let's talk about fire.
Right.
Now, there are fees that have to be paid.
Definitely.
Now, if someone is not complying, do we have to give them notice, or do we go straight to a fine?
Yeah, what we do is we give them notice in regards to the International Fire Code, the Life Safety Code. We give them a 15-day notice, and if we see that there is improvement and they're willing to do the right thing, we actually add some more time to that.
Okay.
And that is done by establishing a relationship with the owner or the managers. And if you see an improvement in their behavior or in their attitude that is positive, then we don't have no problem. But if they continue to do that, then we'll have to go ahead and go into a fine.
I got you. One of the things they talked about too was the pedestrians along the corridor. And you know, we're in the process now of the Old National Streetscape program, which we're bringing sidewalks from Old Bill Cook Road all the way down to 138, which is going to help things. But what I did notice, and I had a communication this morning with Bill Davenport, Georgia Power. While I was out there, I did notice that there are a lot of dark spots in terms of lighting on the corridor. And I've asked him about that, and I asked him if we could improve the wattage so that the lights can be brighter on Old National Highway. Halbert, how do you think that would help us?
Well, those dark spots, as you named, tend to be those locations where, if we were to go back and look at some of the statistics, you probably would see quite a few robberies and drug selling and things of those nature. So when you light up an area, that tends to keep the criminals away, and they try to find another location to go to.
Well, he's going to be looking at that. Like I said, I talked to him this morning, and he's going to get back with me in terms of what's the cost. I think that whatever the cost is, it's worth it. I'm from South Florida, so if you've ever been around Miami, you know, they lit up. I mean, you look like daytime in Miami, and I want to make the corridor look the same way. And are we having any kind of relationships from fire and police with the city of College Park, because they hold the gateway to Old National Highway? Are we communicating with them?
Oh, most definitely. Again, even before the beginning of this program, fire and police, we were discussing some issues. That fire just happened to come upon about a week or so ago. So we'll have to address that issue in terms of some of our businesses not doing what they're supposed to be doing in terms of closing and adhering to the ordinance.
Right.
Yeah. Same goes with fire. I'm very, very good friends of the fire marshal from College Park, and we always talk and we always say, hey, listen, what happens in your corridor happens in mine. So guess what? Let's get together and we can work together. And that's what we've been doing about that. And one thing about the lighting that I love, the fire department, we work on base of address. So if you call us to a location where they either have a fire or we have an emergency, medical emergency, guess what? By seeing that address, we can definitely get there a lot quicker.
All right. Well, let me say thanks to each and every one of you and challenge you that this is not the end, this is the beginning. And we're going to hold on to Old National Highway until it turns around and be the jewel that it's always been and it can be. And with your support and with the support of the citizens, this can happen. Old National, we're here, we're going to stay here, we're going to work with you, and we're going to make it a jewel that it needs to be. Thank each and every one of you for what you're doing.
Thank you for the opportunity, Commissioner.
Okay. Up next, my thoughts on today's topic and contact information for how you can provide me with yours. Come on back. As we wrap up today's show, I'd like to thank my guests for what their departments have already done along Old National Highway, and thank them for what is still to come. I'd also like to express my sincere appreciation for the citizens who continue to take the time to be a part of the solution. The Old National Revitalization Project is in its very early stages, and we believe that together we can and will make a difference. Government cannot do it alone. We need the community and business partners to join us to make all of South Fulton a good thing. Let me hear from you. Contact our District 7 office or connect with us online through Twitter, Facebook, website, or talk to 7 at fultoncountyga.gov. Well, we thank you for being with us today. We will see you next time on the South Fulton Good Things Show.